So let's get started. My name's James. I've been with the company for the last 3 years. So I'll just start by saying how I got into sailing, because obviously I'm a chief experience officer and skipper also. I moved to Austria when I was 19 to teach English and study anthropology, but realized it was not what I wanted to do. So I moved back to London and I found a job in a sailing club as a bosun. So I was responsible for fixing all the boats. I'd sailed as a kid a little bit, but I really then started just to get into it as a hobby. Got completely obsessed. It's really infectious. It's great fun. So then I also became a sailing instructor in the club. You can see a photo of me here. We'd sail small boats on the river on the weekend, and larger sailing yachts on the weekend and in our free time. So I realized that I was getting pretty close with my logbook and accumulating miles and experience to take my exams. So I quit my job at the sailing club and went out to sea to finish my final few miles before taking my exams. And I passed and was fully qualified. So it was quite late in the year, but having fallen in love with Greece after a family holiday at a friend's grandma's house, I decided just to move out to Greece and let everything sort itself out. So I'd applied to jobs. I was doing kind of odd jobs, and I knew about Gadventures, but being quite late in the season, they were full, and so I ended up on a short list, like a waiting list. So as soon as the position became available, I jumped right at the chance. I got straight on the next plane out and started my career for G, and haven't looked back since. So the week we'll be going through this week is Santorini to Mykonos. I looked over some of the trips I did last year and just picked one and accumulated some photos, some of them online, some of them from past travelers. So I've just put together a little slideshow for you guys. We do this same Santorini to Mykonos trip in reverse. We also do these are 7-day trips. We also do 10-day long round trips, Mykonos and Santorini. And there's also an Athens trip, which is 7 days long, Athens to Mykonos. But you can link these trips up together if the times work. So you can go from Athens to Mykonos to Santorini. But just check out on the website, it'll show you sort of times and dates for that. So we're in this sort of island chain in the middle of the Aegean Sea, in the middle of Greece, called the Cyclades. So it's famous for its local weather effect called the Meltemi, which brings northerly winds through the middle of Greece most of the summer, all through the day, and then they stop at night, which makes for brilliant sailing and means that we can all get a good night's sleep afterwards. So we meet in Santorini down at the marina on Sunday afternoon. You can see the airport's over here and the marina's down south. So it's a short taxi ride, about 25-minute taxi ride. It should only cost around 20 euros. There are bus services, but they're a bit more sparse. And we meet in a tavern just at the top of the marina called Dimitri's Tavern. So you've got a good view of all the boats. Our boat will be somewhere around here usually, but it's easiest just if we all meet in the tavern and have a little drink, sort of introduce ourselves, get to know each other a bit before we head off to the boat. So it's a lovely little spot, family-run business by, this is Dimitri, the owner, and his wife. They'll be very warming. They've been friends of Gadventures for many years, and they'll take good care of you if you want to arrive early and have some food, or if you've just got any questions. And this is the view if you look at it from the street, just to know what you're looking for. So we'll sit here, introduce ourselves, and then we will head down to the boat to get ourselves settled into our cabins and go through a few of the safety issues on board. So the way the week works is that we stay on the boat every night in a different island most days. One island we stay at for 2 nights. And we usually sort of have shared breakfasts and lunches, and we'll go out to a different restaurant in the evening all together. So we put together a small kitty on board, putting say €50 each. And if you need to do a bit of grocery shopping for the boat, we take it out of that and just keep our receipts in case anything's we need to double check anything. And it usually works quite well. It means that we can all go and just pick anything out of the fridge rather than everyone having their own individual food. But it's not compulsory. If you do if you've got dietary requirements or want to do your own thing, that's also fine. So you can have a little look at one of the boats. This is a boat called Philoctetes. We were in the process of updating all the fleet in Greece. Obviously this year we've taken on less boats due to the pandemic, but I'm pleased to say we've got 2 boats running. So I hope we can act as a good example for other companies of how you can act responsibly in these times and safely. We have got a travel with confidence policy, which I think Cass will talk a bit about at the end, just regarding all extra safety measures that are being undertaken to deal with the virus. So the boat is a Bavaria 52-foot 2017 model. So all the boats that we have in Greece and Croatia are around this 52-foot mark. They're not all the same. They're all just as comfortable as each other, but so they're allowed to take up to 12, some of them 14 people, depending on the layout, but we never have more than 8 plus myself. So a total of 9, which just makes it a bit more comfortable for everyone. And this is a view of the stern of the boat. So I'll use a few nautical terms as we go on. The stern is the back of the boat, and this platform drops here, and we slot a ladder in. So if we're pulled up somewhere in an anchorage or a quiet bay, there's space to get in and out of the boat and hop in, and we'll do a bit of sunbathing. And this area here, this communal outside area, we call the cockpit, with our steering wheels or helm. And this is where we'll usually be if we're sort of out and about, just because it's cooler. So going downstairs, this area is called the Saloon. So it's a communal area in the middle of the boat. It's quite a decent sized. It's actually not a great photo despite all the glitz. And it's large and airy. There's room to walk around. You've got standing headroom. These are sort of standard sized doors. And we might use this area for a sort of breakfast or a drink before dinner. Generally, when we're sailing, we'll be up top, like I said, so you can see the horizon, see what's going on. And we just keep this area as tidy as possible. This is a stock image from the internet. So when I'm sailing, this will be completely pristine. We won't leave silverware and cutlery and stuff out. Because we're sailing, and the boat will lean over slightly, which is what we call heeling over, and anything left in here will just end up on the floor and just start to break. So we will have to make sort of a real group effort of keeping our home tidy. It's not a hotel, despite how fine it looks here. It's an adventure holiday where we all kind of pitch in together. and sort of live like a little family for the week. So this is what one of the double cabins would look like. So as you can see, it's basically a standard double bed. This I think has an ensuite. So not a lot of headroom. I sort of compare it to like an RV, like a really sort of posh camping holiday, but on water. So the other style of cabins, we have these bunk bed cabins, which is fairly comfortable. There's lockers to put your stuff in. And because it's small group tours, you may potentially have to share with someone new, never someone of the opposite sex, obviously. But if you're a solo traveler, that's part of the fun of it. I know I've stayed in touch with people who've literally become best friends for life after having to share one of these bunk rooms for a week. So the bathrooms, which is what we call the heads, slightly different system than on land. They're sort of operated through a seawater pumping system and go into a holding tank. And when you shower, the bathroom becomes a wet room. So you just shower onto the floor, and then there's another electric pump to pump it out, and it's all waterproof in there. Fresh water is obviously a sort of precious commodity when you're at sea, so we have to be fairly mindful of that, although we can, fill up as we go along on certain islands. But again, just something to be mindful. And we do have hot water as well. That's limited. That's not endless. So we just have to sort of talk with each other. But there's more than enough for everyone to have hot shower every day. So yeah, this is us all in the cockpit. It's a group I had last year. You can see it's fairly spacious. We're all sort of sat down on a nice sunny day with the wind in our hair. There's a bit of extra space also behind these wheels for us to sit. And if it's a calm day, then you're more than welcome to walk around the deck of the boat and sunbathe, or just stretch your legs a bit. And this is just a floor plan of the Bavaria 52. So you can see what that looks like from a bird's eye view. So anywhere in brown will be a berth, so sleeping arrangements. There'll be double bed cabins back here. These are the bunks, and these are two doubles up forward. This is just the settee in the saloon area, which technically counts as a sleeping berth, but we're not going to have people sleeping out in the living room, which is good. So yeah, before I move on, have we got any questions popping up?
Yeah, we did get a question. I think you might answer this soon, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you allow people to help with the sailing throughout the tour?
Yes, yeah. So I will touch on that in a bit, but we need people to chip in and help. And again, there's a possibility to learn as much as you want, or if you're, just after a sort of relaxed holiday, you don't have to do anything at all. Don't have to lift a finger. But I'll touch on that in a bit.
Awesome.
So what we'll usually do is, after we've sort of settled in and done a small safety briefing, I'll touch on that again in a bit when we're talking about sailing. We go off for our first group dinner off to the middle of the island to a town called Syros. So the island's an old volcano, and the main towns are built on these sheer cliffs and just provide amazing, stunning views over the caldera, the crater of the volcano, and some of the most amazing sunsets you'll ever see. So this is the town that we go to. I've got a little local restaurant that I like to go to that always saves us the best seat in the house and have excellent food. and we get to take in some lovely views of the sunset. Again, usually it's quite a busy island, so it can be really difficult to find decent spots with good views. There's quite a lot of tourists, a lot of restaurants, they get very full. So yeah, it's a bit of local knowledge just to always have a decent seat. So one thing that's famous in Greece, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is the food. And Santorini itself has got a few local specialities, one of which might not look appealing to some, but this is gorgeous. It's a split pea puree with capers, cilantro, olive oil, and red onion. And it's just a really nice light starter that people will have with a lump of crusty bread. Being a volcanic island, Santorini is also famous for its white wine, which has an amazing, really, really crisp, earthy, natural taste to it. And you can see the vines growing here. They don't grow in sort of traditional vines. They'll be small shrubs on this volcanic soil that have been coiled in on themselves. Very unique wine. It's definitely something to do if you arrive on the island a few days early. There's lots of wineries to go and see. A nice little day out. And one of my favorites is kleftiko, which is a lamb shank. This is a very traditional Greek dish. So it used to be a wedding dish. It was served in a clay pot, slow cooked, maybe 20 hours. And the word kleftiko, if you've heard of kleptomaniac, it's derived from a Greek word, means stolen. And it would signify how the bride has been stolen away from her family. It's a very traditional Greek dish. So I like to have a fairly early night on the first day, and we usually get our minibus back into town, or back to the marina, sorry, after dinner about 10 o'clock-ish. You're more than welcome to stay out longer if you wish. There's good nightlife in Santorini, lots of nice quaint bars and sort of winding alleys, very, very pretty. But I like to get a good night's sleep in, seeing as the first day that we sail is quite a decent length. We sail for about 6 hours on the first day, just so everyone can get their sea legs, get used to the boat. There's also quite a lot of miles we have to cover during the week, and I like to really get stuck in, put everyone through their paces. So we sail along the south coast of the island and up through the crater, through the caldera. And being a volcanic island, it's prone to a lot of landslides. A lot of the rock is pumice, which has small air pockets, which in the heat of the summer will expand and cause a lot of landslides. They make for beautiful scenery, but can be quite problematic for some of the infrastructure for the locals at some stages. It also means that you get beautiful, beautiful beaches and crystal clear water. So this is known as Red Beach. Again, if you were to come early, definitely something to check out. Sort of black sand beaches, red beaches. There's beautiful walks. There's a good hike between the two main cities, Fira, which we went to the night before, and the town on the north called Ia, which is famous for all the postcards in Greece, all the photos. And this is what it looks like roughly when we're sailing through, view from the water. And yeah, I mentioned it was a volcano. So 3,000 years ago, it blew and was one of the largest explosions. People could hear it from Africa. But the crater then had landslides on the north and southwest and filled up with water. So we can now sail through it. And this is just an aerial view of what it might look like. This is where we had dinner on this side, and this is the islands in the center of the crater. So the caldera and for the day. But as Cass asked before about sailing, yeah, I like to get people as involved as possible. It makes for a good fun week. Definitely something that was skilled to bring home with you from holiday. This is what one of our boats looks like before the sails are up, just so you can see what it looks like from the water. And with safety, I like to brief people on the use of these things. These are our winches. These will hoist our sails and pull our sails in and out. They can potentially be dangerous if not used correctly. So I like to obviously brief people if they're gonna get stuck in. If you want to also steer the boat, you're more than welcome to. It's definitely something people enjoy, going home and saying to their friends in the pub, "Oh, I've just been driving a 52-foot yacht in Greece through a volcano." Quite special. And knots. Yeah, every sailor has to know a few knots. This one is everyone's favorite. It's called the bowline. It's brilliant. You can always get it untied no matter how much it's been tightened up. Very easy to get wrong at the start, but yeah, we often have sort of knot tying competitions. I'll go through my repertoire and see how many people can remember. It's good fun just to pass the time. I've got just a very short video of what it might look like while we're sailing. As I mentioned, it can be fairly breezy at times. So this was a good windy day. So that's what it might look like whilst we're sailing. One more short video, just of some wildlife. If you're very lucky, you might have the opportunity to see the odd dolphin. So in Greece, in the Aegean, they're very elusive. They can be quite playful in certain parts of the world, but in Greece, they seem to always have something better to do. So you'd have to be quite lucky. I'd say maybe once a month, but it's definitely a possibility, something good to look out for. So before we make our next stop, any thoughts, any questions on the sailing aspect of it?
So we've got a couple of questions actually. First one is, what is the average wind speed? And then also, what do you do if there's thunderstorms or rough seas?
Okay, so we measure wind in nautical miles per hour, which is a little bit more than a normal mile per hour, and they're called knots. So the wind would be on average around 20-25 knots, say 20 to 25 miles an hour during the day, and then, like I said, in the evening it drops right off. So it's very predictable, this local effect. We track the weather very, very closely, and sometimes there is quite bad weather, but we can usually see it coming a few days in advance. This way, if you see like there's only sample itineraries, we will divert to different islands if we hadn't planned on going to a certain one to avoid the worst of the weather. There's not going to be perfect storm type situations because we are relatively close to islands and we can stay out of it. If it's really bad for one day, we might stay where we are. So it all depends. It also means that if you come year after year, you're never going to have the same trip. And again, we can't promise exactly which islands we go and see, which means you can just keep coming year after year, like I said, and have a different trip every time.
That's awesome. So basically, just the itinerary isn't always strictly followed.
No, well, again, safety is always paramount as a skipper, and I mean in the company, obviously. But so we have to really look at it and play it by ear and make snap decisions sometimes. How we're going to play out the week. So as far as safety goes on board, They're very safe boats. There's a saying that you will break before the boat does. So the boats are very safe. They can't really capsize or anything. We've got life jackets for everyone. We've got protocol. If the wind gets past certain speeds, then everyone puts on a small life jacket that will inflate if you were to hit the water. So it's not a big Titanic style orange foam life jacket.
Awesome.
And we've got all the relevant safety equipment on board. Locator beacons. There's a big long list. I won't go through it all now.
And safety is always top priority for all of our travelers.
Yeah, especially at the sea, it's very, very important. It's great fun, but as long as we're all nice and safe. Ooh. So our first stop, I like to get up to this small island chain beneath Naxos, which is the highlight of our week, or the middle point, sort of. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous chain of islands, really off the beaten track that people don't tend to go to. And as I said, seeing as we have a lot of northerly winds, these get sheltered quite well from Naxos, which just means it's often really calm. So the first island we stop is called Iraklia. And it's one of my most favorite islands, one of the nicest stops. It's a completely different world from Santorini. We stop in this small, tiny, quiet bay where you can swim off the boat. There's something like 80 inhabitants on the island thanks to the census. Obviously, more people during tourist season, but just brilliant, brilliant people. Very, very warming, very resourceful people, hardworking. A lot of them will have sort of two roles on the islands. I know the harbour master, who's a friend of mine, is actually also a civil engineer. And the guy that drives the garbage truck will also do day trips, bring people out on his fishing boats, and so on and so forth. They brought me they showed me around the only school on the island that has two pupils in the whole school. It was really, really interesting to see. So if you can see, we tie up next to a really quaint old fishing boats. A lot of the islands in Greece, in high season at least, get very, very busy. And it's often quite hard to find a spot to moor up the boat. So I've got a little arrangement with the fisherman that he'll always save me a space next to his boat if we eat in Sun's restaurant, which is usually quite a good deal. The food there is amazing, and it's always nice to support local businesses. But again, it means that you get to walk through a sort of traditional Greek fishing boat and see what it's like, traditional wooden boat. A lot of the fish around here is caught with these small boats, so it's a very sustainable way of fishing, very responsible. And a lot of the boats are even smaller. Some of these will have a very, very tiny diesel engine, big enough for 1 or 2 people, just to go out and catch some fish for the day. So the restaurant, yeah, we go up and again, catch another gorgeous sunset and eat some amazing foods. They're really nice in here. I've been going there the whole last 2-3 years. And they've got a nice little forecourt if you want to stay after dinner and have a nice cocktail or coffee. So then, again, you're welcome to explore a bit of the bay. Like to set off around sort of 9ish the next morning and go and do some snorkeling on the south of the island, which is about 45 minutes sail away. And get to go and visit a World War II plane wreck, which is just a really nice dive site. So I'll get here for breakfast, have a little bit of breakfast, go for a snorkel, see if you can touch the plane. Again, it's just absolutely crystal clear water, very, very pretty. And you could also swim ashore. It's not very far. It's probably the equivalent of a few lengths of a swimming pool. And you can go and explore the beaches or try and find bits of wildlife in the rocky cove. That's me tying a marker on the plane wreck. So the story was that it came down in the Second World War because the pilot just ran out of fuel. So a local fisherman towed it into the closest bay, and it's just stayed there ever since. So if you're out snorkeling and you're very, very lucky, you might catch sight of one of these. This video I took 2 years ago. Very elusive creatures, very, very, very pretty. And it's something you'll likely see in a lot of Greek towns. Will be octopus hung up in the sun, hung out to dry. They tenderize it by slow cooking it in the sun all day. Very, very beautiful to eat, but also responsible. They can't be mass farmed. They can't be farmed at all. They don't live very long and have lots of young, so it's quite easy to sustain the population and difficult to overfish and very elusive. So the next island we stop at, it's only a short hop over to these two islands here called Pano or Ano and Katokouphonesia. So Upper and Lower Kouphonesia. And this island's about 1.5 miles wide and long. It's a very, very tiny island. And like to arrive here right on lunch, where I'll pop my head and photobomb you if you're trying to take a photo. No, this photo was taken by one of our travellers who stayed in touch. She's a really nice girl, so they could use all her pics. So we've just got a small Greek salads and olives, cheeses, taro salata, which is a cod roe dip, one of my favourites, but just a nice light lunch just on the boat. And again, crystal clear, beautiful waters, lovely bay. And it's not a very big island, again, being only a mile and a bit wide and long. So you can walk from one end to the other. I like to go for a little jaunt to the Devil's Eye. So it's a natural swimming pool in the rocks. And you can actually swim out through a tunnel, through the rocks out to sea. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you're a very competent swimmer. I've done it a few times. It's not that far, but it's I've seen people scare themselves. But it's absolutely gorgeous just to drop in and have a dip and check out this coastline. The island literally looks like it's from Star Wars or a different world. It's gorgeous. So yeah, we'll mosey back and relax a bit for the afternoon, and then go and have a group dinner together and see if we can try my favourite local speciality of the island. You can find it all over Greece. One of these things. Doesn't look the prettiest, but yeah, it's called scorpion fish. It's just got meat that tastes like lobster. Absolutely beautiful. Very hard to find elsewhere. And yeah, this is just a view of the sun setting over Naxos, where we're sat in the restaurant. This is something you'll see quite often in Greece around the area. Windmills, usually north facing, or the south facing. Anyway, so the next day we head off to Naxos, head up north. It's about 3 or 4 hours sail. And we stay on Naxos, which is the largest island in the Cyclades. We stay there for 2 days. But again, just on the way, I'll have a little stop for a swim and a snorkel. Get to go and have a look at almost uninhabited islands. There's no roads or cars. I think there's 2 houses on the whole island, and a few people come for the summer. But yeah, very unique experience. Means, especially having a boat, we've got the freedom to explore these small bays and do these sort of once in a lifetime things, like being on a sort of desert island. So yeah, like I said, about 3 or 4 hours sail up to Naxos, which is our home base. All the skippers that work in Greece usually stay in the crew apartments there when we're not working. And it's the largest and most lush island in the whole Cyclades. So we stay there for 2 days, and the second day we'll get cars and do a little road trip around the island to see some of the sights. So when we arrive, this is the view you'll see, the Temple of Apollo, which faces the sacred island of Delos. So all of the islands in the Cyclades circle around the birthplace of Apollo, this sacred island of Delos. And it's stunning. It's just nice to see sort of, you know, old meets new. So we've got the Venetian Castle, which is sort of slightly newer history. This is the view from the top of the temple. And we might like to come up here and watch the sunset. It's a good place to get some good holiday snaps. Or we'll go to our restaurant and watch the sunset to our favorite spot called Flamingos. Again, we've known the owners for many, many years, long before my time. Good friends of Gadventures. And they've got live music as well in the sort of garden section, and not sure if you can read, but plate breaking when things get a bit more lively. And dancing, you can get some lessons from this chap if you want to try your hand at Greek dancing. Again, some of my favorite specialities in this place would be zucchini fritters, which will be grated zucchini and cheese with a sort of tzatziki dip, and shrimp saganaki. This is sort of tomato and feta sauce with shrimp and herbs. Absolutely beautiful, really nice and light. Definitely one of my favorites. So next morning, we usually set off at about 8ish to get the most out of the day. We'll go and hire cars. I'll bring everyone to the town square and sit and have some breakfast next to the church if you wanted, or there's a few bakeries around here, and we'll go and sort out the paperwork, get the hire cars ready, and then set off on our trip. So the first stop of the trip is Zeus Cave, or Zeus Cave. So we go on a small hike. It's only about a 20-minute hike up and down the mountain. But just before we set off at the bottom, there's this beautiful natural spring and there's gorgeous views. So you can, if you don't want to hike up a mountain on your holidays, you can sit and relax and read a book and take in the views. Also, I mentioned about the island being lush. There's lots of spring water on the island, which the locals name Zeus juice, and is a secret of their longevity. So this is the summit, which is a good hour and a bit each way. So we're not going to go all the way up there, just sort of halfway up the valley. And a lot of the time you'll just see goats wandering across the mountain, very friendly and curious things. Really, really nice for a little shot. And this is me sort of posing for the camera at the top of the mountain or just before the cave. You can see off the neighboring island, Paros. Absolutely gorgeous. The locals reckon that if it's a clear day, you can see all the way to Turkey from the top of the mountain, but I'm not too sure about that. So here is the entrance to the cave. It's hundreds and hundreds of meters deep, and it's a winding labyrinth of slippery, dark danger. So we just poke our heads into the entrance and have a little walk around. It's completely cool and lovely there, so it's nice just to get out of the sun and cool off, and again just take in the views. So after we've done the cave, we'll head slowly north through the island and stop off at a nice little church just to make a donation and have a little look around the Greek Orthodox church. It's one of the oldest churches in the region that are still continuously providing services. The oldest part of it was built in the 5th century. There's 2 other parts from the 7th, and this part here from the 12th to 14th century. They were uncovered in the 70s and partially restored. They found underneath the frescoes inside were original frescoes from the 6th century, which were then restored. So there's technically no photography, definitely no flash photography inside. And being an Orthodox church, we have to sort of cover up a bit and practice modesty. So this is an example of the fresco taken from Google. The caretaker gets very angry if anyone takes photos. And it's just a sign of respect, just to sort of, play by the rules. So after we've had a little stop here and walked around, we head up to the village of Mykonos. So this is built on the side of a hill around 12 natural springs. And again, it's got stunning views. It's a really tiny little place that you won't stumble across on your own. And really, really rustic, small, traditional Greek houses. You see everything's whitewashed with these blue doors and shutters, symbolic of the flag. And churches with blue domed roofs, very iconic, very Greek. And just again, olive groves and rolling valleys and views of the sea. Lovely. So this is the next stop, lunch. We stop here for a big Greek feast, and this is one of my favorite stops the whole week, probably, if not absolute favorite. We go to a small restaurant called Plaza, which is just colloquially known as Martina and Stavros after the owner. So again, it's built on one of the village's 12 springs and used to initially be a butcher. In the 60s, seeing as they could keep the meat cold with the spring, but now, having cooked such good home food for so long, they're just a restaurant. And you can see them there, the matriarch of the family, really, really lovely people, and the generations of women running the family. And so this is one of the best dishes they'll have here. Naxos is famous for its cheese. It's slightly like feta, but a little bit less salty and a bit lighter. And everything will be homemade or locally sourced. I know they make their yogurt themselves for the tzatziki, and they get a lot of the vegetables out of their own garden. And this might be a main course. So this will be goat, very, very sustainable source of meat. It's just free range, often roaming around the sides of the mountains. And we've got zucchini, eggplant, and a local Naxian potato. This is called briam. So there'll be lots and lots of plates of food. They don't usually put it on one. They'll separate the vegetable dishes and the meat dishes for the vegetarians out there, and there's more than enough to try. There's usually salad and then 2 or 3 vegetable dishes and a meat dish and the potatoes. So absolutely loads. And we're all usually fairly stuffed after lunch, after our big Greek feast. So we usually end the tour here at around 3:30. We've got the cars for the rest of the day. We don't have to return them till 9 at night. So if you wanted to keep going and explore the island further, you're more than welcome to, or check out a hidden beach. I tend to go back towards the boats and just have one stop on the way at the marble mines. So Naxian marble is very famous. It was used for roofing tiles on the Parthenon in Athens and the Acropolis, and also at the Sanctuary of Delphi, which was one of the holiest sites in Greek mythology, in old Greek times. They believed it to be the center of the universe. So it's wonderful marble. You can see just gouges out the side of the mountain. They've slowed production right down, but it's got a really high crystal content, and it's just beautiful, mesmerizing to look at. And just a group we had last year, pulling a funny face for the photo. I can't remember what was so funny about marble mines, but yeah, really, really lovely bunch of people, and we've all stayed friends. So we don't usually have a group dinner on, oh, sorry, it's gone too fast. So at the end of the day, we don't usually have a group dinner. Group dinner will just sort of do things ad hoc, back on the boat, and explore the old town, or just relax or have something light for dinner if you wish. And then we get ready for sort of a 9-10 o'clock departure the next day, fairly late back, and we've got about a 4.5 hour sail ahead of us to our next stop. Before we go, I was just wondering if anyone had any questions. I've been waffling on a bit here.
I think everyone was admiring those food photos and the views, but we did get this question actually a couple of times. When is the best time to take this tour?
Okay, so that's a good question. So this local weather effect, the wind starts to tail off around September, October. It changes year for year. But then also the temperature slowly tails off. So it's hard to say. I like each and every month for different reasons. So July and August will be really hot and windy. So great sailing and lots of swimming. Earlier in the year, so sort of May and June, it'll be a lot less busy around the islands. So there's a lot more spots we can explore, different places. Obviously a little bit cooler. And September, October, it will have slightly cooled off. The water will still be really, really warm, having heated up all summer. But the weather system's a little bit more stable. So this perfect guaranteed wind doesn't come so regularly. So I don't know what the best time to come is. It's just preference. Again, I'd say beginning and the end of the season, if you're not really into dealing with mid to high 30 degree heat. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, maybe around 100 Fahrenheit. And yeah, if you don't like the crowds as much, maybe come at the end, beginning of the season. It's just preference, really.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that covers it really well, to understand what people are looking for on their trip, and then helps them make the decision of when they should plan it.
Okay, so the next stop we do is heading further north, the island of Syros. So we just stop in a small bay on the south of the island, so we can tie up. Sorry, my internet's been a bit. So we can swim off the back of the boat again. It's a really, really tiny, quaint little marina, not as small as some others, but again, with just gorgeous water, not so busy, and just have a nice relaxed day. There's a beach around town. You can hang out on the boats, and go for a wander. But we usually like to get in a taxi off to the capital for dinner. So the capital of this island, which is also the island's the capital of the Cyclades, the capital city on the island is called Ammopoly, named after the messenger god Hermes. And it's actually the youngest city in Greece. It was just formed after the Greek revolutions in mid 1800s. And the architecture is a lot different to all of the other places in the Cyclades. Lots of different color paints and terracotta roofs. And yeah, it's just very, very pretty. And so this is the view from the water of the main town. We usually walk up the hill to the cathedral, St. Nicholas Cathedral, just to have a look around before dinner, before you find somewhere in one of the alleys to go and have dinner. And you can look over to the final stop of the week from here in the direction of Mykonos, and just get some nice sunset photos just on the last day. That's actually the back of my head. Some people say it's my best angle. And the next day, again, quite a relaxed day. We don't have particularly a tight schedule, and really, really good day for sailing. Quite a short sail, but a very wet and windy sail over to Mykonos, which is also known as the Island of 1,000 Winds. This is where our weather effect accumulates a lot of the times. It will be the windiest around the entrance of Mykonos, but we'll all be used to it by then. So in terms of, I might have mentioned, probably should have mentioned it earlier, on the kit lists, on packing lists, will get sent out to sort of all the usual things. But one thing I could seriously recommend is a thin, lightweight kind of waterproof top just to put on. If waves are sort of coming over the boat a bit, and if the wind, it can be quite wet sometimes, and there can be quite a bit of spray. But I think it's great fun. It's obviously nice and warm, and you'll get the feeling of being really salty sailors by the end of the week. So we leave the boat in Mykonos Newport, and take a small water taxi, a sea bus, for dinner just down to the old town. There's a picture of the sea bus here, and it saves about a 20-minute taxi ride, and we get to see the coast. It's just something that you see quite often in Greece, just to cut out road journeys. And then we will, then we'll have dinner in the old town, which is, again, really iconic and really famous in Mykonos. We've got a little bit of time before just to explore the winding, narrow streets and go and watch the sunset at the windmills. I've got here of Little Venice, which is, again, a very famous, very iconic part of Mykonos. We see it in a lot of postcards, and just a nice way of tying up the week. One last sunset photo, and everyone's usually slowly starting to swap stories and get a bit nostalgic that the week's coming to an end and plan their next trips, and yeah, get ready to stay in contact. And this kind of winds up the week. So the old town, the island itself is known to be a party island, and have really good nightlife. So you're obviously welcome to go out and explore the town, or go to one of the party beaches. I'll usually sort of go back to the boat for 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock after dinner. If anyone can make with me to make cooking, and it finishes the morning after. We're off the boat at 9 in the morning, and the cleaners come on and we get ready to do it all again. And we say our goodbyes. I'm obviously there to help you if you need to help with the taxi or transports to the airport, which is just down here. If you just want to have a quick morning coffee or something, I'm there. So that sort of concludes the week, and it's gone really, really quickly again, and it's making me want to go out sailing. So I don't know, have you got any final questions, sort of just to conclude things?
No final questions. I think everybody was loving this tour. We had a lot of notes about people who were supposed to travel to Greece and didn't get the chance to, and now this gets them excited, or for people who you added this to their very long list of travel places that they want to go to. So thank you so much, James, for taking us on this tour. I know that you gave us the taste of Wanderlust that we needed during this time, and we'll all be looking to book those flights first thing out to Greece once we can. But for now, we'll stay home and stay connected. And if you enjoyed your adventure with James, you can show your appreciation by tipping him through PayPal. The link will be shared in the chat box, as well as emailing you after this tour is concluded. This money goes directly to James, helping support him until he's able to get back to doing what he does best, and that's sharing our world in real life. So everyone keep an eye out for more live virtual tours hosted by more CEOs from all around the world. And when you're ready to travel again, we're here to support you. Your safety, as well as the safety of our employees and partners, have always been our top priority, which is why the new physical distancing and cleaning measures have been put in place on all of our tours. Our new Travel with Confidence policy features new health and safety procedures from the moment you arrive to the moment you leave, without taking away from having the time of your life. The policy will evolve as time goes on, and we'll continue to monitor local public health recommendations, but that won't change our commitment to keeping you safe as you explore our big, beautiful world. And until then, stay connected. Thank you so much, everybody, and we hope to see you on the road soon.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.